Hi everyone. Hope you all survived midterms. Hope the exam wasn't too hard. I'll be trying to get those grades out fairly soon so that you can have an idea of where you stand. People look like they did okay on the multiple choice and true false questions, at least what I'm seeing in terms of the scores. So that's promising. And other good news, we're on the way to spring break, so pretty soon we'll have a week off. So this is the last module before spring break, and I want to give you some instructions on it. And this point, from this point on in this class, we kind of move towards the more technical aspects of conducting research and moving forward with constructing your research proposal. So a number of the activities today for this week, are intended to kind of move you along towards making progress on the parts that will be combined into that proposal. So let me go over a few of these things. Okay, 50 points as usual every week, distributed across a bunch of activities. The first thing, which is something we have every week, is a quiz on the chapter. This is a quiz that's worth 20 points. There'll be 20 questions, all multiple choice and true false. On this quiz, I'm going to give you 15 minutes to take it, but I'm going to give you 2 attempts, as I say here, because I think some of the questions might be hard. So I'll give you a second chance at it and see how that goes. So as always, read the chapter before taking the quiz. There's some technical stuff on Type 1 and Type 2 errors, and power analysis, and confidence intervals, and things are becoming a little bit more technical in this class. So we're going to have to read and make sure we do well on these quizzes. All right, let me go back to the module. The next 3, sorry, wrong week. The next 3 activities have to do with aspects of your research proposal and thinking about your study worksheet that dovetails with your proposal as well. So one of the assignments is thinking about your study part 2, and this is a fairly straightforward assignment. Each of you should have received fairly extensive feedback on the first submission of thinking about your study, which was questions 1 through 8. For this assignment, I want you to revise those answers based on the feedback that was provided to you, so that they are more complete, more accurate, more reflective of where you need to have in this assignment. And then, as part of this assignment, I also want you to complete questions 9, 10, and 13 to the best of your ability. Questions 9, 10, and 13 relate most directly to the content in Chapter 7, which is our chapter for this week about selecting participants in research. As before, I recommend that if you haven't done so yet, that you read the instructions for the full research proposal, because everything we do in the Thinking About Your Study worksheet and in some of the other assignments for this week relates to putting pieces together for that full research proposal. The next 2 assignments are related to the research proposal directly as well, and I want you to complete them as separate projects for purposes of this module, although eventually they will go together into one research proposal. But for now, keep them separate. Research proposal assignment 3 is going to have you finish up, essentially, I'd like you to finish up the introduction, or at least the draft of the introduction to your research proposal. And so you're going to need to pick up the latest version, which was the second draft of your introduction to the public health problem, and add to that the information that we gathered about your purpose, research questions, and hypotheses. So the instructions for this are pretty straightforward. Again, I've already covered it, but I want you to revise questions 1 through 8 in the Thinking About Your Proposed Study. And then in this 2-year RP2 document, again, the second draft of the Introduction to the Public Health Problem, start to add additional information: the title of your project, the purpose of the research, the theory guiding the research, if any, a brief conceptual description of what your independent and dependent variables are going to be in this study. Fuller descriptions of these will come later. And then include your hypothesis. And that should pretty much round out what the introduction, this will be a very short introduction, will look like for this research proposal. Keep in mind that I want this document to be no more than 1,000 words total. I thought we had tried to keep the second draft of the introduction of the public health problem down to around 500 words. So you've got essentially another 500 words to add this additional information. The other thing I want to say is it's probably a good idea to start thinking about putting your document into APA style manuscript format in terms of line spacing, headings, fonts, those sorts of things. But complete this document and upload it into Canvas, and you'll be done with it. Lastly, the last assignment for this module, this week's module, is to do RP4, which is a separate section. And in this, I want you to start working on the methods section of your proposal. And specifically, one small part of the methods section, which is the section about describing your participants in the research. So, and for this assignment, you have 300 or less words, 300 words or less, to describe the participants. So you should discuss, who will be the likely folks that you would include in your study, how many you would plan on enrolling, how did you decide on that number of how many. So you might want to consider talking about, at least conceptually, some sort of power analysis for that study. You're going to want to talk about the anticipated demographics of the participants, the inclusion, the exclusion criteria, those sorts of things. So, this is when you get into the method is going to have participants, measures, and procedures. We're going to talk about those sections, some of those sections later in this class. So, RP, this assignment is just the description of the participants. So, about 300 words, short paragraph describing who the participants are. You may even need considerably less than 300 words. So, complete that document. Upload it into Canvas, and we'll be done, and then we'll have a week off during spring break. All right, so if you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me, you know how to use the course Q&A discussion board, and that'll be about it. So good luck.